You guys are not running for president, but why are you here in New Hampshire on what is essentially the campaign trail?
Well, we're both members of No Labels from the beginning. We're the joint co-chairs, Democrat and Republican governors, starting way back in 2010, 2011. And this whole thing has come about because the country's never been as divided as it is now. And we entered it back then when we really thought it was bad. It's got a lot worse now. And the country has to come together. And this group of ideas that we have, as No Labels has gone around the country and put together a common sense doctrine. That's how this country started way back in 1775, 76. And here we are today, still trying to get commonality.
Do you prefer governor or ambassador?
I prefer John.
I'll go with governor. Governor, when we're talking about a potential presidential ticket, bipartisan presidential ticket, why should that conversation be in the mix, a third-party presidential ticket?
Well, probably because for the first time in recent history, you have over 20% of the American people who, via polling, would suggest that none of the above would be acceptable if, in fact, we have a replay of 2020. So we are, in a sense, creating an insurance policy. So what No Label is doing, which is rather unprecedented, is getting ballot access in all 50 states. That's a tall order. I mean, I don't think it's ever been done before by an independent movement. So people say, well, you're running for this, you're running for that. We're not running for anything. Joe called, like he did 12 years ago when we came together to co-chair No Labels, and he said, the common sense majority has no voice. Let's go to New Hampshire and present this document that is full of some common sense solutions. So here we are.
What would you say would be attractive about a bipartisan presidential ticket?
Oh, listen, somebody at some point will try it. This is the most innovative, creative country the world has ever known. For us to do the same old thing is like a little bit insane.
Could a bipartisan ticket actually work?
I think eventually there could be that possibility once the American people are frustrated enough with the status quo that isn't working. But that's going to be driven by the American people.
Is 2024 that opportunity?
Don't know. Don't know.
Senator, why are you considering this third-party presidential run?
We're not considering anything. We're not putting anything on the table and taking anything off the table. What we're basically
You're not taking a presidential run off the table.
What we're talking about here is that No Labels is something I've believed in for a long time, trying to bring people together.
And
I got involved.
They're building, if I may, though, a $70 million presidential ballot access.
There's an insurance policy that they're building in case, but you know, if you can move the parties, I believe in America promises. I don't believe in the promises from the two parties we have right now because they've gone so far to the left and the right.
Are you considering running for president on the No Labels third-party ticket?
We're not considering anything about running for any office.
Are you taking it off the table?
We're not taking anything off the table. What we're doing...
You Senator Manchin, are not taking off running as a third-party candidate for president off the table.
So you know, Vaughn, why we're here today. We're here to basically present the common sense doctrine of what most people in America feel right now. We're not addressing the problems. The debt problem, the immigration problem, the crime problem. Everyone's talking, but no one's addressing it at all. And when you listen to the people across America, they're concerned because it affects them, what we're not doing. And the parties have gotten to the point where it's big business. They have a business model that's better if you divide the country than united in the country. United, you don't have the same stroke in two major parties as you do if they're divided and go to your respective side. And I've told people, don't you believe that this country is as divided as they want to make you believe. Washington's divided. The politics is dividing the country, making you pick a side. There's only one side, the American side. And that's where people want to be.
So if you believe that, and if that's where the American public is, would you be open to running for a third-party presidential ticket?
Let's see where everybody goes. Let's see what happens. Maybe they'll come to their senses and start doing the job they were elected to do.
The group that you guys are involved with here today, No Labels, that is a part of this mission here, is building out a $70 million presidential ballot access campaign effort here. There is some concern that Donald Trump could be boosted back into the White House because it would siphon votes off from President Biden. Do you think that a third-party No Labels ticket would be worth that risk of Donald Trump ascending back into the White House?
Well, as nobody and No Labels that I've ever spoken to would ever be a spoiler. There's no spoiling going here to give an advantage to one side or the other. We're hoping both sides come to their sensible middle, moderate, where we've been. The GOP and the old blue dog Democrats, centrist, that's where we made all the decisions before. And it's almost impossible to do that anymore.
I'll ask the same question to you, Governor. How do you determine whether to be a part of this third-party presidential campaign? If I may, would you consider being on this third-party, no-labels presidential ticket yourself?
No plans at this point. This will be driven by the attitudes of the American people. When they have decided that the status quo and maintaining the status quo duopoly is not good enough for their aspirations in the greatest country that ever was, they're going to demand more. And that will lead to other conversations. But to conclude right now that A, we're putting, first of all, we're not a political party. B, we have no candidates running. C,
Correct.
We're here just to talk about common sense ideas, because never before has a group canvassed tens of thousands of Americans to see what's on their mind and how they feel about the issues. So we've got 30 important issue sets that represent where the American people are. So we can talk about the horse race, which is fun, and everybody likes that, but at some point you got to say, okay, what are the priorities of this nation going to be over for whomever's elected president going
And
forward?
some would say that this is high stakes, though. What would you tell those opposed to a second Donald Trump presidency that you are considering
I would think that
potentially a
basically,
run?
when are people going to say enough's enough? We hear it every day. Enough's enough. Can't you work together? What about us? What about this great country of ours? We're the hope of the world, basically, and the generations coming on. If we can't step forward as a group to force the parties to do the job they were supposed to do, and if you are going to put what you're saying is as a movement to say the people are wanting this, and we've told the people in New Hampshire, ask these questions as the presidential candidates come through.
So how will you determine whether to run for president or not?
This is not about running. I'm not in that decision.
But it's an outstanding question.
It'll be next year.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.